So I want you to imagine a couple. They've just had a fight about their kids, and one of them says, "Why don't we have sex now?" And the other one's like, "How could you talk about sex at a time like this?" So today's video is all about how you can use sex as a form of self-care and why some of you don't use sex as a form of self-care. Essentially, there are people in this world who did learn that sex can be used to relax and to calm down. And typically they're males, by the way, but I'm not judging here. I just want you to know. Typically males have learned that they can use sex as a form of relaxing and calming and self-soothing. Some of them did it by masturbating before bed. If they were stressed, they'd masturbate, they'd calm and soothe their system, and then they'd be able to fall asleep, right out. So that's using sex as a form of self-care. And so when a couple has that fight about we just had a fight about our kids and you want to have sex, well, the person who learned to use sex as a form of self-care is the person who's going to be after a fight saying, we should have sex. Let's connect. This will help us feel better and like each other more. But if you're the opposite of that, so you're stressed, so let's backtrack to when you were a kid. And it's usually the female, by the way. They're stereotypes for a reason. So if you learned in stress to do self-care that was different than that and not sexual, then your go-to is not going to be, let's have sex, calm down. Your go-to is going to be whatever else you learned, right? If you learn to talk to a friend, that's what typically women learn. We learn to talk to friends. We do knit sometimes. You don't have to, but there's different things that we learn for self-soothing and self-care, and typically they're not sexual things. So after that fight, you're going to be the person who's I need some time away from you. I need to go talk to my friends. I need to do these things. I'm not ready to have sex with you. And I'm here to tell you that there is no right or wrong to this. It's really about how you were trained and how you learned to code sex in your brain. And you can do both. The thing that I keep seeing with men and women is this idea that one's right and one's wrong, or you should do this or that. And it's not that black and white. Really, there's a lot of gray. And if you can learn to use sex as a form of self-care, then sometimes you can have sex after a fight and still use that to calm down and soothe with each other. I don't want it to be your only form of self-care, though. So I think couples also need to be able to talk and relate to each other and connect and say, hey, it hurt my feelings when we had that fight about the kids. I just want to feel close again in this other way. But ultimately, sex is one form of self-care. It is. It's one way to soothe your system, and it needs to be one among many. And if you as a couple have one of many forms of self-care, then sometimes you can fuck it out, and other times you'll need to talk it out. But it becomes one of the many forms of self-care. And then sometimes you can still use sex to connect, even after a fight about your kids. So if you'd like to learn more about the connection between sex and emotion regulation, please come see me. I'm actually writing a book about that this year. Keep following to learn more about that. You can submit a contact form at my website, therapistintstlouis.com. Please also like and subscribe and submit comments below.